Good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Shift Hits the Fan. And tonight we're talking about a lot of things in this power-packed, probably even an hour. My name is Mark Jeffrey, and I'm here with my co-host, Linda Lehman. And I actually got a guy outside fixing a deck. So if you hear some hammering in the back, sorry, we are live, and I couldn't make him stop. So we're going to be listening to him too. And so I'm using him in a very powerful way. He is the punctuation points on what we're saying tonight. So we're hammering in this tonight into your subconscious minds. That's what we're going to do, because we always look on the positive of everything. That's just the way we are and just what we do. So tonight, we're going to be talking about a lot of really cool stuff, because Lynn and I are both really excited. I'm excited because once again, the first of this month, I made another year being cancer-free and healthy, and I celebrate. I celebrate this rebirth day more than I celebrate my birthday, and it's because it was a day that I made some choices in my life that changed my entire life. And Linda and I are going to talk about that, because she's also in the middle of this. And many of our listeners, she's having a journey through breast cancer, and we're keeping track of things. We're going to check in tonight a little bit about what's going on there. But profound things that we know in our lives, and we were just before we got on here, we chatted a little bit, but we were giggling. And it sounds silly, and I know that, but we're just so elated with our lives. I said to her just now, I said, I don't know where this gift came from. I don't know really. I knew I developed it. I know I did, taking steps. We're going to give you some steps to follow too. But to me, it's such a gift, because everything in my life is so big and loud and luscious and juicy for me to live. Like, I bound out of bed in the morning. I can't wait to see what's going to go on. And last night I had, a really bad backache. I could not get rid of it for love or money, and I kind of stomped to the bathroom for the last time going, okay, what is in my medicine cabinet to fix this? When I stopped, right in the middle going, what? Just go lay down. Put on some nice soothing music. Get out of this headspace, because, man, you're wrapped up in it. It's got you hands tied behind your back, looking for your feet to hog tie you, and you're going to be up all night. So last night I made a decision, just to go back, put on some soothing music, got some lavender spray, and again, it may all sound silly to you, but it worked for me. I had a full day that was awesome and full of energy, because I decided at whatever, I think it was 2 o'clock yesterday morning or whatever, that I decided I'm not going to let this get the best of me. I visualized the back pain. I put it in a place where it could not hurt me, across the room, over there, doing its own thing, and allowed me to go back to sleep again and then get up this morning and feel good and be here tonight with you. So I'm really happy about that. But I want to start off with Linda today and checking in and seeing what's going on with her journey. So Linda, let's share with everybody what just happened with you this week, and let's just chat, lady, because that's what we do.
We do it well, Mark. Well, as you said in the beginning, we're both excited. I'm absolutely ecstatic. My physician came bounding into my exam room this week. I went through another series of tests, MRIs and blood work and all of this, and he was so excited. He says, okay, it's time to get the rest of this out of there. It's time for surgery. It's time to just get what's left. It's shrunk up enough now that we can address it. And, of course, me, Mark, I'm saying, wait, back up. Whoa, I want to see the pictures. Show me. I want to look at this. Yeah. And so he pulled it up, and this invasion of my body, this tumor, has definitely shrunk up a lot. And, Mark, it looks like a donut. It's hollow in the middle. It's actually died from the inside, and the doctor even thinks possibly that the stuff on the outside of that hollow hole might just even be scar tissue and hardly anything to worry about. And so next week we have scheduled a meeting with the surgeon to talk about the surgical options. Do we do we just take it and a little bit around it, or what do we do? What's the next step? So I am truly wielding that sword, Mark, and it's on its downswing. I'm about to wear that Survivor T-shirt, and I can't wait.
Well, I know that I ordered it up for you, so I've got it ready for you to go there. But Linda, we talked a little bit about this earlier today and I asked you a question. I said, you already knew, though, didn't you? You already knew that you were fine, or on your way to being fine, that you were in that position. You already knew it, didn't you?
I did know it. I knew that things had shifted, and actually, Mark, I knew from the beginning everything was going to be okay. But especially with this visit that I had, I knew that it was basically it's gone. It's dead. There may be a little remnant that we can notice, that we can feel, but it's different. There was definitely an internal shift, and then it's different. And you know what, Mark? Not only that, this whole experience has heightened my own awareness, not only of my body and my health, but it's heightened my awareness and its ability to heal. It's heightened my awareness of little signals that we get from our intuition. And it's not only impacting my health and my awareness of my health, but, Mark, it's impacting other areas of my life as well.
Yeah,
I am definitely more aware.
Yeah, exactly, and it's funny, too, because I always say that a lot of things have happened in my life that obviously did not impact me enough for me to make changes. I mean, not profound changes. I know that I do a lot of things differently, but not to the extent that when I had my life almost taken away. Like, I was in a car accident when I was 16, and I almost had my life taken away then. But obviously, when you're 16, you're invincible anyway. So just, that was just bound to happen, But later on, when I got the news for me saying, we're sorry, this is just not going to work out in your favor, making really big changes in my life and that awareness. I know I've told this, I was 2 weeks in when I knew I was going to be okay. 2 weeks from, all of the stuff, the MRIs and the tests and that. But, of course, by this point, 2 weeks in, I had 2 blood transfusions as well. So that, made me healthier in itself because I really didn't understand how my body and all the signals it was telling me. I mean, my body was telling me it was dying. I was having nightmares that if I didn't wake up, I would be dead that night. All of these things were like huge, big things. I'm going, now I look back and going, how'd you miss that one? That's like driving through a stop sign, as big as day, and you just drive straight through it. That's what I did, not recognizing all these things. But because of that, and then understanding that, okay, you tell me what you need. I make a point of listening and understanding things. But even in my emotions, and I know we were talking about that just earlier as well, is that people with their limiting beliefs, and we've talked many times on our show about limiting beliefs and empowering your own beliefs, but I don't think people are getting it, Linda. And you talked to somebody and I talked to somebody just in this past week that you realized, well, maybe our message isn't really getting across in the way that we need it to be done because people accept these limiting beliefs. I could have accepted this statement, okay, and we'll call it's an environmental statement for those of you who want to follow the pyramid of where things come from and why you believe things. This was an environmental statement because it was something that came from external of me, because I was in maybe even denial, like this can't be true because this isn't my life. Okay, so I had that belief, like you're lying because there's no way this is happening to me. And I had to change that belief to seek the help that I needed. So it can be a belief that is wrong in itself, that you're okay when you're not okay. But this external belief was, there's no way out of this. Now, I asked a question, and we talked about this on the previous episode. sitting on that steps at the Cross Cancer Clinic for 2 hours, I asked that question, does anyone survive this? And if one person survives this, why can't the second person be me? So we're talking in a different frame totally from what people are thinking of. And we have to do that. It's like you have to think in real definitive terms for you. And what I mean by that is if you have I'll take you back. When you were little, you believed, and maybe perhaps some of you still do, so I'm sorry to actually bring this up today, but believed in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy. Now you don't, right? I mean, then you did, because you put your tooth under the pillow, and you knew that when you woke up in the morning, there was going to be money because the Tooth Fairy was going to put it there. And at night, you put out cookies and milk for Santa Claus because you knew he was going to be there. But now you don't, because you're an adult and you understand that those things are not real. So then why not in our real lives do we say to ourselves, well, I can't be successful, or I can't lose weight, or whatever it happens to be, that I can't do it. Well, Linda, you have a good way of putting this today, and we just talked about it, so I want you to reframe that for them. I can't lose weight, Linda. I've tried a million times. It's just not, I can't do it. I'm the only person in the world that can't do it.
Well, Mark, I would, with you telling me you can't lose weight, I would come back and you know, we talked about this too. I would ask, you know, is it true? What would you say to me?
Yeah, it's true, Linda. I can't lose weight. Linda, I can't.
Well, Mark, can one person who weighs as much or more than you, have you seen evidence of at least one person who has lost weight?
Yes, I have. I have, but I can't.
You can, Mark, because if one other person besides you who weighs as much as you do now can lose weight, then the fact that you cannot lose weight is untrue. And the fact that you can lose weight is true. And it can be true for you.
Right.
All you have to do is believe it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And here's what you do, you guys. I have this thing that I do. And it's worked incredibly well for me because I'm a very visual person. And just before I do that, I'm going to say what I was giving to Linda was emotional response to frustration. Okay, it wasn't based on reality at all. I gave her an emotional response to my frustration. I'm having trouble, but rather than say I'm having an issue with losing weight and I need to find an answer, something to help me, I can't. I've given up. I can't. And so you have to remember that. But what I do is this. Whenever I come across something that I feel my shoulders going up, I feel myself getting frustrated, I grab a piece of blank paper and I write all the things I'm feeling about it. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, I can't sleep, you know, whatever it is. Or I can't lose weight, I've been trying this and this isn't working, I hate my boss, I hate my job. I write all of that on, I put it in a big ball, and we talked about this before, crumple it all up, and instead of throwing it in the garbage like what most people will tell you to do, which is okay, because throw it in the garbage, take out the trash, I've even told you that. That's the start. The second one is I get out another piece of paper, and it's my what if. My what if, my wish is I am at 120 pounds. I am in the best position in my life. My life is the most remarkable life that was ever lived. And I put the most empowering things on that piece of paper. Then I put it across the floor, across the room on the floor, and I take my negative stuff and I try to get it into the middle of my empowerment stuff. And by that, what I'm doing is tossing all of these negative things into a positive environment. And then something else happens inside your mind, because your mind will go, okay, well, you want to toss that, and you want that. So let's figure out a way to do it. So the third piece of paper I have is how do I get from tossing to having? What are those steps? And that's what Linda's talking about. We take small little things like, is it true? Well, it can't be true because other people are able to do it. So seek and you shall find. Find the people that are able to do it and ask them, hey, how did you do that? You know, I know get the magazines that have it in there about people, but I say face-to-face. That's why when I go to events in my industry, I ask tons of questions of people. How did you get your first book deal? Who did you talk to? How did you get on stage? Why did you attack things the way that you do? Why do you feel the way you do? I am like the question person that probably drives everybody crazy, but I'm seeking information to help me reinforce and empower my negative or unempowered doubts and fears that I might have about doing those things. So I empower myself from external places. That's that environment. So if you don't have the belief inside you right now, identify what it is. That's, however you want to do it. Identify those things. And I can't. It just doesn't cut it, my friends. Linda, jump in here.
You're right, Mark. I can't never works. And I've said this before, and my dad told it to me. Can't never did anything. You have to take those steps. I love the is it true? And sometimes you have to dig deeper. Where did it come from? Where did this belief that I have right now that I can't lose weight, where did it come from? And you know what, Mark, when I start asking myself that question, sometimes I wind up just laughing my sides off, rolling on the floor when I track back and try to figure out where something came from, and usually it came from some incident that happened in my childhood, and now I'm remembering, the boy across the street stole my brother's bicycle, but then he brought it back, but I was so mad. It's just like, okay,
yeah.
This came from a real funny place. Why do I believe it? And, where did it come from? And then we start taking those steps. As you were describing, writing down all of this negative stuff on that one piece of paper, I could just feel myself kind of closing up. But then when you started talking about the second sheet of paper, I love the second sheet of paper because as you were explaining and you were making those empowering comments, some people call those affirmations, the I am statements. Mark, I was just breathing a sigh of relief and opening up and had a big smile on my face. That is a very, very important step for us to take. Mm-hmm. And then you're basically throwing all that negative into this big positive environment, and the negative has no other choice but to just bow out and give in to all of those positive statements. And then from there you have your list of what you want. And then you go, okay, well, I want to lose this weight. And you're right. What do I need to do next? What is my next baby step? What is my next step to make that happen? And I love it. Talk to people who have succeeded in what you want to accomplish. Do the research. Some people say, I don't like to do research. Do it anyway. You'll find it's a lot of fun because you're going to find out more about yourself and you're going to find out more about other amazing people. So talk to people. Do the next step. And then, again, as you do these steps, you're going to start realizing something within you that Mark and I talked about at the very beginning of the show. You're going to begin to grow in your awareness. This growth is what it's all about. This growth in awareness is what goals are all about, in reaching dreams. That's what it's all about, is growing in your awareness. And as you make each step and you accomplish these steps, you're going to be more aware of not only what's going on outside of you, you're going to be aware of the messages, what's going on inside, those little nudges that push you further along your path to reach the goal that you want to reach, whether it's losing weight, getting in a fulfilling, loving relationship, being successful in your own business, or even being successful in your own job. You're going to realize these successes. You're going to celebrate them along the way, and always recognize and respond to those nudges that are moving you forward. Truly, Mark, this universe, this energy that's all around us wants us to succeed. It wants us to succeed in what we're telling it we want. So if we're telling it we want to lose this weight, or we want to be at 120 pounds, and I like to look at the result rather than standing in the limitation that we're currently in. Because if we're focusing on this limitation, and that was one of the things for me in going through this path, my total focus has always been on being healthy, perfect health. My focus has never been on I have breast cancer. Because I know that as long as I focus on the cancer, it's going to stay there, and it might even get worse. But if I'm focused on the healthy me that I choose to be, then everything is going to fall into place. And I'm going to take the actions that I feel nudged to take to get me where I want to be. And you know what, Mark? Some people say, oh, I focus on positive all the time. And I ask, really? Think about what you're thinking about. Think about what you're feeling about. Because you can sit down for 5 minutes or 15 minutes and have a positive meditation, but if you're going to revert back to thinking about all of your limitations, you're not taking steps forward, because this energy, this wonderful universe is responding to what you're thinking and feeling every single moment along the way. So it does take effort. Even Wallace Wattles, in his book, The Science of Getting Rich, said that true thinking, and I'm paraphrasing it, is the hardest thing that we as humans will ever do.
Because that's exactly right.
Yeah. You know, most people think that they're thinking when it's really just mental activity. To think is truly to take control of and think what you choose to think regardless of the circumstances going on around you.
It's interesting, too, because you know, I one little cartoon I liked when I was little is Batfink, and I doubt if anybody remembers that, but he had, you know, he would wrap his things, you're whatever cannot harm me, my wings are like a shield of steel. And I know that I do that when environmental things come into my life, but I think there's something here too. You brought up something that people say they're thinking positive all the time, and I'm going to say something to you that is impossible. Unless, you know, I don't even think, I know Gandhi couldn't even think positive stuff 100% of the time, because there's so many things coming at you. And if you're saying that, you're probably not being true to your heart, and you're probably lacking. But here's something that I think people have to understand. We talked about this on 2 shows back about deserving things. And I think that's where you need to start is, I deserve to be successful. I deserve to be 120 pounds. But you're going to have to anchor that with something that is the truth that you know. Because along that journey, we handle them. I know Linda does and I do. But we have a lot of training, folks. This isn't something that we just popped out of bed one morning and said, hey, I'm going to forever be this profound person. We went to work on it. We went to work with some big people. I've worked with Tony Robbins for years, and this is where I've developed things, and people that have been in my, Richard Branson, people that have been in my life that have helped me. I needed somebody. I just didn't wake up one morning going, here I am. When I was given the words, you got cancer, man, I had a team of people. I got on the phone and said, hey, this is the biggest battle of my life. I'm going to need your support and help. What can you do? Right? I wasn't positive all the time, and nor am I now. Like I told you just the other night, getting up with that backache, stomping around the house, and then finally going, what are you doing? But you're going to have to anchor that. Remember when I told you the story about the truth fairy and what's not true? You're going to have to anchor that with something that you know is absolutely true. I can be 120 pounds. I know I can do this, as well as I know the fact that the sun's going to rise tomorrow. That's an absolute truth in my life. I mean, it has to be that powerful inside you, or you are not going to make the move. And if you need help getting it that powerful, then you need to get some people on your team that are going to do that. The buddy. Linda and I, keeping each other on track. We talk about this all the time. You know, it's almost like now, because we do that, we're thinking on the same line and plane. And that will happen if you've got those people in your life. You know, reach out and grab them, because they are going to pick you up when you're falling down, and they need to be there as sure as the sun rises tomorrow morning.
Exactly, Mark, and those people are so important, and I want to thank you too for being in my life during this time too, because sometimes you've helped and you haven't even known that you've helped. All of us have loved ones, family members, and maybe some beloved friends who aren't going to be that helpful. I had some family members that were, everything is coming to an end, or the sky is falling, it's horrible, I'm going to pray for you, and it was just every time I spoke with them, it was negative. It was like doom and gloom, and I didn't want to talk to them. Now, so many times people get sucked back into that. Maybe that little bit of pity felt good for a few minutes because, wow, now I'm the center of attention, and somebody's patting me on the back and telling me.
Oh gosh, Linda, yeah. I'm just going to jump in for a second. I want you to continue on that line, because that is seriously one of the things. Misery loves company. Oh my gosh, that is the worst limiting belief that you can put in your life. Linda, go along that plane, because that is something. Man, people, listen to her right now. That getting in there and allowing people to do that to you. Wow.
Yeah, and it's easy. Mark, it's easy to slip into that. I think as human beings, somehow we're conditioned to respond more to that, to the misery, because we're getting all of this attention. We're getting all this sympathy. My mother-in-law, and I bless her, I love her. But even now, she calls. She asks how I'm doing, which is great. Well, and then she tells Randy, well, don't let her be doing too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm supposed to sit down and curl up in a ball, and I know she means well, but she's looking this in the negative light. Some other people that I've told, it's just like, oh no, that's horrible, and I'm just like, no. I have to put a wall up at that point in time and put on the brakes, Mark, because I don't want to be sucked into the misery. I don't want to be sucked into the negative of it all, because it is very important to me to stay on top of this, to respond to the signals that I got from the very beginning, from my intuition, that opened me up and said, when I was told that I had this, and we talked about this in a previous show, Mark, that all of a sudden I felt this big relief. Relief, number one, because inside I already knew that was going to be the answer, and now it was validated for me. But number two, I knew immediately that I had an additional purpose, and that purpose was to help other women go through this and not feel the dread and the doom and gloom that so many people get sucked into with this. To let them know that you can rise above that. You can take control. You can feel good, and in this, there is a good in here somewhere if we just look at it, as long as we stay on track to our true being inside.
That's right, and it's funny too. Same thing. I did the same thing with my family and different things, and I guess looking back, it was probably pretty rude, but I was in the fight for my life, so I'm going to forgive myself. But when people would come in and say things, going, "Look, you're not on my team, so you go stand over there for a while, and then
exactly.
I'll be back. But right now, you're not on my team, and I need to win this, and I'm in it to win it. And if you're not in my cheering section, then I need you to go home, and I'll be back later." And again, I told people this. I lost a lot of relationships along this way because I knew that they were not relationships that really brought value into my life. Really, they were just kind of hanging on there. And when I needed them, they were not there. When I needed them to be as strong and profound and in my corner, they just didn't even know how to do it. And then when I started going through this process, much like you are, getting better, I started looking at things going, what do you have stuff like this? You need to find people that are like this all the time. You're wasting time and energy on other people who are not ever going to be on your side or in your corner. And when you need to fight, will put up their dukes with you and fight just as hard as you. And I made some conscious decisions about the people I allow in my life now and how I let them respond. And some people are very offended. Well, why won't you? Like, why don't you talk to me? How come I never hear from you? And I'm going, because I'm sorry. I don't want to place myself in saying I'm better than you, because that's not it at all. It's I need some certain things in my life to make me grow, and you're not on the list, and I'm sorry. But that's just the way it is. And, of course, said in more polite words, but inside me, that's how I feel. And I know that you guys, if you're talking about you don't like your job, or there's somebody that you work with that you just don't get along with, or your mate, there's ways to work, like look at that. Can I work with this? How can I work with this? What do I have to do to work with this? Can I sit down and say, you know, we're rubbing each other the wrong way? Can we work at this together to find the solution? And if there isn't any, you have to remove yourself, because you only have one go round here. That's the one thing I know is an absolute in my life. I only get a certain amount of time, and that could be till tomorrow, or it could be like in a half an hour from now. That's all I get. So I better bloody make it worth the time to be here, because sure as hell, if I don't, then some power around me that's bigger than me is going to say, well, you're not worth my time or trouble too. Ping! Out I go.
Right, Mark. We need to look at what we're doing every single day and ask ourselves, is this what I'm willing to trade my life for? Because that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
exactly.
We're living moment by moment, day by day, and we're living life. And you said it, and I love that. You know, this is one shot. It's not a dress rehearsal. It's not like we're given 2,000 years to live, and so we can just blow off the first 200. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be cool, but it's not the truth. As sure as the sun's going to rise tomorrow, and the moon will set. That's the yeah. And we don't. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, you guys. I really seriously don't. I just want you to understand there is so much more out there for you, and both Linda and I. In this specific instance, it's just we've gravitated on more than just the circumstances of cancer. I want you guys to be very clear on that. We think a lot in many things, and as well as her husband Randy, there's just some people out in the world that you just click and you know it's right and it's comfortable and they're doing the best for you, and you try to do the best for them that you can possibly do because you want to, because it's inside you. My journey was the same. I know that when I went through this, I thought, oh my gosh, how many people die from cancer because they heard those words, profound words, the truth words from the environment saying, we're sorry, you need to go home and make your arrangements because there is no way out for you. How many of them accepted that and believed that and went home and did exactly that? And their body said, okay, if that's your choice, here you go. You got it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We get exactly what we ask for all the time, good or bad. We get exactly what we ask for. Yeah, and the unfortunate thing, Mark, is that most people look at what's going on around them, their environment, their circumstances, and take that as 100% truth, and don't believe that they can change it.
And I'm going to give you guys something here too. I'm going to give you an extra special bonus because we're coming up here at the end of our time here tonight again. But I'm going to give you logical levels of understanding, and this is how it's going to go. You're going to see the purpose, and we've been talking a lot about the purpose. If your purpose is in the good, like I always say, I'm flying with the angels, and I check and balance myself that way. Are you flying with the angels, or did you deviate off this path? And if I have, then I go back and earn my angel wings again. And sometimes it takes some time, and sometimes it hurts a little bit. Sometimes I don't want to. Sometimes I don't feel like it, but I always try to do that. And I'm a human being, and I am, I have my shortcomings, and I will always be working on them. But our purpose, then we have to identify the things in our lives, the good, the bad, the ugly. We have to know what they are. And that thing, I can't lose weight, or I can never find the right guy. There's never any food that's good out there, whatever it happens to be. You have to identify, but also identify the good. I've got the most beautiful eyes. Everyone compliments me on them. My hair is gorgeous. My fingernails are lovely. I have a beautiful home environment. I've got the best job in the world. I work with the most amazing people. We have to identify all of them and put them in their little boxes and understand them. And then we have our own beliefs and our own values that are going to come in here. What do I believe about things? What are my values? And do I step outside my values when I do these things? When every day this thing happens at work and I go against what I feel, how much damage is that doing to me, both physically and emotionally? We have to know that. We have to understand our capabilities and our skills. And when we don't have the capability or we don't have the skill, we have to understand and identify people who will come in and help us be better than who we are, help us do that, lift part of the weight, because we can't do it on our own. We have to check our behavior. How do we behave in certain circumstances, and what does our environment do for us? The bottom of that pyramid is environment, and it's anchored there because that is where most of us go off the rails because we believe way too much what other people say about and to us. That has to change, and if that's one change you make today, then it's going to be well worth your precious life because they have no business being there. And Linda, as always, I'm going to leave the last word for you because you always have some great stuff. And I want you to listen. Listen hard, guys, because we're here because we're taking the same journey you are. And we're in it to win it.
Absolutely, Mark. Thank you so much. I'd just like to say that each one of us has within us the power to heal and the power to create. And we get to choose moment by moment if we're going to live by default, allowing our current circumstances and our current environment to dictate how we feel and how we live, or we get to choose to create the health and to create the unlimited life that we truly want and that we truly deserve. And we actually direct this marvelous power with our thoughts. So I say to myself, and I say to all of our listeners, it's time to take the time and the effort, and it does take effort to create and live the life of our own making, to live the life of our dreams, because they do come true if we allow them to.
They certainly do. And why do I know that? And how do I know that? Because the sun's going to rise tomorrow morning.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Yes, it is. So, Linda, thank you once again. I just love our chats, and I'm hoping that somewhere out there we have one person who takes a harder look at what's going on in their lives and makes some changes. So, Linda, thank you very much, and good night, my friend.
Thank you so much, Mark, and good night to you as well.